Welcome back to the Auto Insider, where you come to find out what's new, what's hot, and what's not in the automotive industry. This week we have this 2023 Mazda 3. While the design is a bit unconventional, you can go with the sedan version if you want to be like everybody else. But for my taste, I like this four-door hatchback. I really like this front splitter here and that rear spoiler on the back. But that 2.5 liter turbo under the hood with this all-wheel drive setup, this thing means business on the road. I've even heard it said it does 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds. The only thing I would take away from this premium package is when you get the all-wheel drive, you can't get the manual transmission. And I love Mazda's manual transmission. Let's see though if this 2.5 liter turbo with this all-wheel drive will give me what I need on the road. Let's take her for a spin. And once inside, you can tell Mazda is different than anything else in its class. No one else has mastered this infotainment system control like Mazda has. I love the way my hand always falls right in place on every Mazda we drive. Probably the most thrilling thing about this center console because it's rather bland here. But this sport button is not bland at all. I'm tired of talking about it. Let's take it out for a spin. I think I've mentioned quite a few times that we're considering all types of vehicles for our soon-to-be 16-year-old for her first car. And this Mazda 3 has actually made our list of possible vehicles. This 2.5 liter turbo all-wheel drive premium package version though is probably gonna be out of reach for her. I don't know if I want to have this much power and this much fun in her first car. But on the flip side of that, there's something to be said about a vehicle that can handle situations like this. As you can see, we have this transmission, we have this driver mode set to sport. So in sport mode, the transmission holds the gears longer and allows you to gain speed, and it also holds the gears to help you slow down when you find yourself approaching a curve or a decline in the road. And although the all-wheel drive is probably not doing much right now because I'm pretty much coasting, it is a sense of comfort knowing that all four wheels have traction at all times, and it makes you a little more confident as a driver. Now, I would caution you, you don't want to be overconfident because this is not some sports car Gran Turismo style or anything of that nature, but it does add for an exciting drive. From time to time, new drivers do find themselves in situations where they're out of control. They don't really know the limits of the car, which many of us don't either. But when you have a vehicle that has all the safety features that on this Mazda 3, you have the all-wheel drive, anti-lock brake, and this superb handling, I think it will be a little more forgiving if she finds herself out of control. But this 2.5 liter getting to 60 in under 6 seconds may still be a bit of a stretch. But it is still just so much fun to drive and rather forgiving. You can tell that back end gets a little bit fishy when you go to brake in a panic situation. Something that I would expect from a vehicle like this is not really set up to be a real sports car, but as you can tell, all-wheel drive, all four tires gave us a little bit of a noise there. Way to go, Mazda. Now let's talk about this back seat. I'm 5'10", average size man. This back seat is tight. As you can see, my knees are right against the back of the seat. There's a bit of a cutout here to make for a little better room, but this is no place anyone will want to spend any extended period of time. And I know what some of you may be thinking. I would never consider buying a $30,000+ car for my young person. But for those of you who might, consider the lack of AC vents and USB chargers back here a plus. The one thing that did surprise me about this second row is I thought there would be a lot less headroom just based on the sloping design of the roof. But I actually have great headroom. And if the person up here would give me a little more room, it might not be a bad place to sit. While the average Mazda 3 driver probably isn't overly concerned about cargo capacity, but if it's a college student going off to college, or maybe you're a recent college graduate and you have needs for moving things around, or maybe buying stuff for your new apartment, it's nice to know that you do have this wide opening clearance to get your packages in. But I've heard the sedan has a little more cargo capacity than does the hatch. But to this Mazda 3's credit, I like this cover for your cargo. It's easily removable, so if you have to get more things in, you have even more room. And while there's still not a ton of space when the seats are folded down, you do have the 60/40 folded second row seat that does expand the cargo capacity. And as you can see, we made good use of this extra capacity even with the passenger back here. That's all the time we have today on the Auto Insider. But for more of what's new, what's hot, and what's not, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, then download the SoundCloud app and listen to all of our reviews in their entirety. The 2023 Mazda 3. Is it hot or is it not? For what it is, I would have to put this Mazda 3 in a really, really warm category. I would like to see the manual transmission available with this all-wheel drive setup. I think you get a lot more out of this 2.5 liter turbo. Maybe not more performance, but it would feel better and give you more of a sense of control. When it comes to the braking, like we saw back there a minute ago, that back end can get a little bit light and fishy when you're on a panic stop, which says to me, Mazda probably needs to do a little bit of tuning on the suspension to keep this thing flat and planted on the road. When you got a vehicle that has this type of acceleration and this type of handling capability, the braking should match. All in all though, for an average everyday commuter, your daily commuter, I would put this Mazda 3 really high on my list. And it makes the really warm category. But for my daughter, it's a little bit too fast for her, so it probably won't make the first car list at our house. Until next week, I'm Daryl Killian for the Auto Insider.